New World has gained a lot of coverage since its announcement, probably because of the period that we are, where not a lot of MMOs have been released as of late, as well as we know that there is some built-up expectation since it's coming from Amazon. Its process through development has not been the smoothest, with its change from a primarily open world PvP based MMO to this more sort of balanced MMO where there's a said possibility of toggling on the PvP, as well as some, world bosses and some small casual PvE on the side. Now that the change happened after some time through its development, it's usually a red flag for developers or even fans when you're looking at the games to see that, alright, the developers know that the game's not enjoyable in its current state, and because of that, usually with all that money spent on a game, there is a chance that it could fail. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with this game, but it's a possibility. But we are talking about Amazon here. They have enough money to throw at literally anything, and by the time that they spend that money, they probably made it back 10 times, even 50 times over. So how could they possibly fail at bringing together an MMO that at the very least would be fun for us MMO fans that have been bored with the games that are currently out for quite some time now? I never want to see a game fail, especially when there are employees and people that are working hard on the game. So I am excited to eventually actually hop into this game, except with their change of focus of the game and the virus delaying it, a lot has gone wrong with the process and the development. So we ask the question, is it destined to fail at this point? Will it even live up to the hype that it has set for itself? Well, I did some research for what the current playable state is from some testers, and I will also talk about the features that make up the game so that everybody is caught up and on the same page. Let's check out the world of New World. Right, that sounds weird. Let's check out what's good with New World and what people are saying about it. So we have the classless system, 3 different factions that you can join, sieges, invasions, these PvE arenas or kind of world bosses, legendaries, trait skills, and weapon masteries. Those are the main things that we're going to cover. For those who have already heard about the game, know about these things, I'm gonna leave a timestamp for you can skip over it, but for those who don't know, here's everything that you need to know about New World. It's classless system. Simply put, there are no classes. It's pretty obvious. Instead, it's gonna focus on the weapons that you choose. And I did mention the weapon masteries, and that's sort of the way that you also level up. So you're gonna have these weapon masteries that you can choose once you level up the weapons. You're gonna have different attribute points to allocate to that, as well as when you level up your character, you're also going to get attribute points to allocate to your character. So there's 2 different ways that you can kind of uniquely build this classless class, if that makes sense. After a little bit of leveling, you will choose one of 3 different factions, which will determine the guilds that you can join, which territories you can quest in, and the NPCs that are going to be peaceful or attack you, and who you will fight with in PvP, as well as those that you're going to fight against. Now, the large focus of the game we already know has been put on these sieges and the territory wars. I am a big fan of open world PvP and I really enjoy sieges, so this for me is like right up my alley. The territory wars is going to be a 50 versus 50 all-out battle where different factions will fight each other for an hour, where the attackers will try to tear down a fortress gate and pretty much try and take over the fortress that they're attacking in order to gain control of it, while the defenders can use these siege machines in order to help them retain control of the fort. There actually are some attacker siege machines as well, but I believe a bulk of them are for the defenders. It is supposed to be an all-out battle, but I think we can see the problem here. If you're fighting for an hour, it's pretty easy as an attacker to get demotivated after even 2-3 attempts of just not getting past the gate. This is a big problem with Warhammer Online Return to Reckoning, and I can say from experience, there are a lot of people that just see, oh, the ram got torn down, or we got through the first gate and we're trying to get to the second gate. We get wiped maybe one time, and then people tend to log off. It just happens. I do think that the smart choice is having 50 versus 50, so it's not too overwhelming with people, and I also think it's smart when it comes to the performance issues, because we do know that there could be a lot of lag when it comes to sieges in games that puts hundreds of people against each other. Sieges are actually getting some hate from the testers because they're saying that it's too repetitive and the rewards aren't good enough. There's no gear grind to work towards. It's a good point that they make. You know, you're gonna question, why do I continue to dominate the territory wars without actually having something to work towards? You know, I keep bringing up Warhammer. At least within Warhammer, you have the tiers of different gear that you can work towards, as well as the currency in order to buy those pieces of gear. I think something like that system should be implemented as a way to work towards getting better gear and just something to work towards in general. The invasions are kind of this PvE counterpart to the sieges in a way. Players are going to sign up for the invasions ahead of time, and the leader of the guild that was chosen to lead the invasion will be able to choose 10 players from his own guild and 40 other random players. You can probably see once again where the problem comes into play, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. Invasions will put the players into a fortress where hordes of NPC enemies are going to be flooding in and attacking the fortress, and the players are able to use the siege machines that we talked about in order to fend them off. If you are successful, there are things called settlements, and basically the lowdown is they're just a city where players of a certain faction are able to socialize, craft things, buy things, and stuff like that. And the more that you upgrade it through successful invasions, you'll be able to do more in that settlement or that city. This kind of becomes the point where the players who are the random players, maybe they don't like the guild leader, whoever is leading the invasion, and so they grief them so that they can lose that invasion on purpose, and they're not going to be able to upgrade the settlement. Instead, it's going to downgrade, and then there's going to be things taken away from them. I heard that this has actually been happening on the test servers, which is unfortunate because instead of gamers wanting to be able to enjoy the game and play with each other, they're just looking to one-up each other in order to be better, which I totally understand. We as gamers, we're competitive and we want to be the best. It's understandable. Invasions are going to be pretty rare, and they are going to give you loot and experience if you're successful, and even if you fail it. But if you are successful, you will gain more, and if you fail it, like I said, that settlement is going to work towards degrading, and that's where some of the griefing can come into play. The PvE arenas, or arenas of the Ancient Guardians is what they're going to be called, are going to be these arenas that are found throughout the world. As you kill mobs throughout the environments and the territories, you're going to come across a key that you loot, which is going to be rare, and it's going to unlock the arenas to the player. Inside is going to be a boss, and it's supposed to be tough to defeat. It's going to reward the player with higher quality equipment, and there's going to be a possibility to dropping legendaries if RNG is on your side. I like the idea of these PvE arenas if they're more sporadic and you're not getting access to them, like killing 10 to 20 mobs and you find the key, and then, you know, wander around a little bit and you find the arena. I like that. And if they are rare and they actually are very hard to defeat, then I think obtaining a legendary should actually feel exciting and not just, oh, you know, oh, if I run this 10 times, statistically I'm gonna get a legendary. One thing that we also don't know is how many different bosses are going to be in these arenas and if they're different depending on the territories. So I think if there's not just the same mechanics over and over from maybe 1 or 2 bosses, and that there's like, you know, 10 different ones, I think it could be a cool little mechanic, and I think it'd be fun. Like I said, there will be legendaries within the game as a way for players to seek progression to a higher gear set, and for the players to feel just a little bit more powerful than others throughout the world. We have seen legendaries be kind of a messy topic with MMOs. They either are far too overpowered, underwhelming, or just thrown at players like it's like a loan at a bank. I think if they get it right and make them pretty rare but not just extremely overpowered, then you can actually introduce an interesting element with these legendaries. And then we have trade skills. Trade skills are going to be the different gathering, refining, and crafting skills that the game has to offer. Their system is pretty standard, where you're going to level them up individually, and as you do so, they will offer, you know, higher quality recipes, be able to see resources on your maps from farther, and get more out of creating things. It's simple, but it looks like it's important enough to where these skills will be important to making money, as well as making, you know, potions and gear for yourself, but for others at endgame. Is New World going to live up to the hype? Well, I'd first like to say its hype train is a little bit odd, in my opinion. It might be because of the timing of the industry, and we just haven't gotten any MMOs to release as of late, especially AAA MMOs. Now that we do have one, it kind of seems like, you know, everybody's either, oh, I want to play this so badly, or you know, I just don't feel MMOs are in the right place anymore. It's kind of one or the other. And honestly, from looking at it outside in, it almost seems like they are kind of rushing the release, which is unfortunate. I never like to see that happen to developers in general and to games. From what was to what is now, the game looks like it's now focused more on the solo casual play, where the game used to be about bringing a large community together. I believe they made the change because they wanted to seek out the more casual MMO fans and bring them into a game where they didn't feel at a disadvantage of not being able to play as much as others. This is seen as a problem for pretty much most MMOs, because usually they are catered to players who can play more or spend more, or both. Now, I have not touched the alpha myself, and my information is from what is allowed to be out there from other testers, so the game we know now could definitely change before release a little bit. It's hard to say a lot because it's right around the corner. We have closed beta next month in July sometime, and then release is in August. There are a couple of other things that I would like to see be added within the game in order to bring just even more content for its launch, because I think the game's a little bit bare right now. The game seems to be in this weird crossroads of wanting to have PvP sieges with a lot of people and that be the core feature, but also try to push the game into this more PvE focused game, and it's kind of casual. I don't know if it really identified itself. One thing that I think they should introduce if they are looking to go that more PvE route is just dungeons and raids. I know it's simple and I know it's nothing unique, but it's definitely another avenue of content of just doing the evasions and the world bosses that they have. I think having certain zones be non-toggle based for PvP would be better than actually having what they have now is the toggle based PvP, in order for players to hunt anyone they want and, you know, not just have it be a small selection of players. And lastly, I think there should be guild sieges at endgame for those hardcore players. Maybe make them instance based so the lower level players can't see or even get involved. But guild sieges would definitely give the players who plan on playing the game a little bit more, or even take it more serious, something extra to be excited for at endgame. It would also introduce the extra competitive layer for the game that I think it definitely needs in order for people to stay around at endgame. These are just a couple of ideas, and you know, they're nothing crazy, I know, but as I said earlier, players who have been tested in the game have had their complaints about the invasions and sieges and just how gear works at endgame. There's nothing wrong to make a game that looks to bridge this gap that I'm talking about as casual and hardcore, because we know that the problems with them and the disadvantages, but I think they are shooting themselves in the foot if they don't give the players planning on playing more hardcore some extra content, and that they aren't going to be struggling to bring those players back when they leave after launch and, oh, we don't have enough content, but we're trying to throw random things in the game after that. I think that could be a problem in the future. You know, I could be wrong, but nonetheless, I am still excited to give the game a try. I think the combat looks good, its graphics and environments are pretty nice. I just hope that the content will be enough for more than just a couple of weeks after launch. Do I think it will live up to the hype it has? I think that the hype it has is quite weird. So there are a lot of people who are inherently saying, no, I will not try this. Some people saying, you know what, I've been itching to hop into an MMO for quite a while now, so why not? And then there are some people who are really excited for the game. I think personally, I fall in the middle. I'm excited to try it, but I'm not ecstatic about it. I'm gonna try to go into it with not too many expectations. I know you're saying, oh, well, you're making this video. I understand that, but I wanna see what the game has, and I'm gonna give it my best try, and if I enjoy it, I enjoy it. If not, it's not the end of the world. You know, we'll see soon, because next month is going to be that closed beta, and then in August, we are going to see the launch. Are you looking forward to New World, or is it just not your cup of tea? Let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.